All right, well, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me today on this next episode of the Scholarly Snippets series, workshop series. Today, this workshop is entitled One-Click Access to Library Full Text from Anywhere with LibKey Nomad. And I know that's kind of a mouthful, but I'll explain what that actually means here in a minute. Just to kind of introduce myself, I'm Kyle. I'm the Electronic and Technical Services Librarian at the California Health Sciences University. So it's good to meet all of you. Just a little bit more about the workshop series. So this is part of something called Scholarly Snippets, and it's intended to help you, advance your research skills and support scholarly activities. And specifically today, what I'm hoping everybody can take away from this is by the end to describe kind of the functionality of the third iron product, LibKey Nomad and LibKey in general, and how it facilitates one-click article access from anywhere, right? So pretty much anywhere discovery happens. So inside the library, outside the library. I will say one disclaimer though, this is a subscription-based product, but I wanted to offer some alternatives at the end, some free alternatives, and there's pros and cons about them. So we might go over a few of those too, but I want to offer something because I'm sure everybody's going to be excited about this by the end. Okay, so let's go into, so I'm actually going to stop sharing my camera so we can kind of focus on this. All right, so what is LibKey, right? I think at its core, it's probably best to describe it as an identifier-based full text linking technology that kind of combines a variety of information and data points to deliver full text articles, again, at any point of discovery, right? So whether you're starting your search in the safety net of the library, or if you're kind of in that wild west of Google, right? It's just gonna bring like a uniform experience to finding articles, right? Which I think is really important. How does it actually work, right? So I guess the best way to describe it is that it ingests or probably combines article metadata, the library entitlements, even the library's authentication system, which I'll get more into. And then it combines all this with some kind of identifier. So the DOI, the PMID, something, right? So it combines all this into what LibKey produces as a waterfall of links, right? So the PDF link will always probably be at the top. Could it actually find a PDF link? It'll put that at the top. Could it find an article link to the publisher website, right? It'll post that too. Is there an open access version? Maybe somebody wants that instead. Even if there's a link to the actual journal and then the journal cover image. So those last two, I'll kind of explain why those might be important in a minute. So that's kind of how it works in a nutshell. And I know, I apologize, it's kind of jargony. I think the best way to actually illustrate this is basically to show a live look at LibKey's functionality, right? So we're going to jump into that. Here. Okay. So this is libkey.io. Now, LibKey is broken up into three components, okay? The first of which I'm going to show you is what we're looking at right now, libkey.io. And obviously, I'm already logged in under CHSU, but libkey.io is sort of your basic identifier search, right? So it works with DOIs, it works with PMIDs, and honestly, you may recognize this interface. Its layout is pretty much modeled after Sci-Hub, if you know what that is. And as far as I know, that was purposefully done to kind of emulate that really popular experience that Sci-Hub brings, but, and this is kind of an important difference, to provide it in a legal way, right? So it's connecting your library's holdings, it's connecting hopefully legal open access journals and articles, all in this super simple, easy to use interface. So let's kind of show this in action. So if I pop a PMID in there and it pulls up. So right away, the cover article, the cover, the journal cover information, all the other metadata, that's why that's important. It'll display that. Coming down here, we start to see the waterfall. So it found a PDF of the article. If I click that, It should just start downloading. There it is. It's already done there. Just jump back to that. Maybe I want to go to the publisher website. So it found the article link and it should transfer us over to JAMA. So there we are right there. And if there was an open access link, it would probably have it third right there. Okay, so it's kind of giving the researcher, the searcher, the power to choose where they want it, right? Do they know they want the PDF right away? Do they want to explore maybe where the actual article is on the publisher website more? Those types of things. Now, when you first set this up too, you can have this go straight to what they call PDF Express. So on that original IO page, when I put the PMID in and hit search, if you don't want this step, it'll take you directly to whatever it can find first. So if it can download a PDF, it'll automatically download the PDF, kind of like Sci-Hub if you've ever used it. Or it'll take you directly to the article link if that's what's available, those kind of things. So you can make this a little bit quicker too if you want. But it is kind of neat to be able to give the user, the choice basically. Down here, you may have noticed that there's a view article in context. So I'm not going to go into this too much right now, but LibKey is paired with a product called Browsine. Okay, so Third Iron offers them as a pair. If you get Browsine, you get LibKey and vice versa. If you get LibKey, you get Browsine. And it works in tandem, and I thought it would be good just to kind of show what possibilities of what you could get if you go into Browsine. So what Browsine is kind of like a modern, sleek interface for your journals, right? So it'll ingest all of the library's holdings and put it in this super nice looking organized way, right? And you see, you can download link, you can save it to my articles, you can build bookshelves, you can export the citations, all sorts of stuff. Probably one of the neatest features is that there's a mobile app associated with it. So your phone, your tablet, right? It's available in all the major stores. You can pretty much take this with you, right? So you have access to your journals and articles, when you're standing in line or waiting somewhere. So this is a really powerful tool. It's hooked up to our LibKey IO too, so we can kind of seamlessly jump back and forth. And I think it's just a really nice, easy, crisp way, I guess, of showing what we actually have, right? So that's kind of a quick tour of Browsine. Like I said, I don't really have the time to get into that too, but I would recommend exploring that a little bit more. So let's jump into the second part of LibKey. If you notice up here, this URL right here. So this is what they call LibKey Link. Okay, and this is the second aspect to LibKey. Now, this first part is completely static, right? So we're library, our number is 2229. And then if you notice, everything after that is just the PMID, right? So if we pop another PMID in there, it'll take us directly to another article, right? So the power with LibKey Link is that that first part of the link is basically works like a link resolver. So it has all the library holdings, entitlements, and it combines the library authentication system. So if you're SSO, if you're a proxy, anything like that, it'll combine that. So these links become ultra flexible in what you can do with them, right? So if they're on campus, they click it, they're there, that's fine, it'll open. If they're off campus and you send a student, faculty, anything like that, this link, they click it, it'll go through your authentication system automatically and they'll be at the article. So instead of, dragging huge URLs and throwing a proxy in front of it, all that kind of stuff, you can do this really quickly for articles with LibKey Link, basically, right? So you're kind of taking that mess out, and super reliable, stable links, which is what they're trying to do right now, right? So it's just that basic little bit of info. You throw an identifier on there, it could be a DOI, and you're always going to have access to the article. So that's a really neat aspect to this, and what kind of powers LibKey IO too. So if we look over here, this new PMID I put in, it's actually an open access, right, through Unpaywall. Now, Third Iron has integrated Unpaywall, and they have also partnered with a lot of publishers because they know Unpaywall isn't kind of like an exhaustive list of open access. So they partnered with a lot of publishers to expand it, and then they have their own data going on in the background too, and searches to even expand it even more, right? So just to give you more options. Their goal pretty much is to stop dead ends, right? So there should be always access in some way. And what I mean by that too, so say you don't have access to an article, it's not open access. Pop that in there. So here, we don't see the waterfall like normal, there's no browsing link, but it says library access options, right? So to me, I know that it means we don't have access to this, but when you click it, it'll take us directly to our ILL form, right? Our document delivery request form. So wherever your form exists, or maybe you have an automated system, maybe you have it set up to have email, right, just sent to the library. Wherever that exists, this can be redirected to, is what I'm trying to say. So the access options, again, it's getting rid of any dead ends, right? So our form lives in our discovery. Maybe yours is on a whole different aspect to the website, but anyway, it can always go to it. So again, no dead ends, right? You're either going to get your library holding, your open access, or it's going to take you straight to the article. There's not going to be any dead pages. I know that can happen in certain websites, probably EBSCO, that kind of stuff, where you're just kind of left wondering what to do next, right? So that is super powerful here. And the other thing with LibKey IO, that first screen with the search box, right? That can actually become a widget really easily. Third Iron provides all the code for that in a few different ways, actually. And you can slap that widget pretty much anywhere you can put code, right? So you can always have that PMID and DOI search box really readily handling. And another point about LibKey Link is that it acts like a resolver, and it can actually be used anywhere a resolver is used, right? So in Pubmed, for example, with the link out tool, in Google Scholar, and a lot of the EBSCO databases, anywhere you can put a resolver, you can actually put the LibKey link, right? Just that first part of the syntax. And what it'll do is when somebody clicks on an article to view the full text, it could take you to a page like this, right? So it could give you the waterfall options or this access options, or if you set it up to go to PDF Express, it'll take you directly to the article, right? So again, trying to make that uniform experience pretty much everywhere, you can set that up really, really quickly. So that's kind of LibKey Link. I mean, LibKey Link and LibKey IO. You know, there's a lot of use cases for them. They're very flexible. It seems like they're very powerful. They're quick access, which is kind of the point of all this, and really neat. So the third part of LibKey, and honestly, the part that I just love, right? It's in the name of the workshop, so it's I think it's probably the best part. Is something called LibKey Nomad. All right. So LibKey Nomad is a browser extension, right? And it's available in all the Chromium browsers, I think. So your Chrome, Edge, Brave, Vivaldi, probably Opera too. And it's also available as an add-on in Mozilla Firefox. And I think if it's not available yet, it will be soon in Safari. So it's trying to cover pretty much everything. So it's a real lightweight browser extension. And you know, I'm here on the Chrome store. I just want to show real quick LibKey Nomad I searched for. Obviously, I have it installed, but I would have clicked install, and then you get the little dewdrop, and you would select your organization, and you're done. So it's 3 to 4 clicks. You can actually have this set up to be sent out, and university wide if you work with your IT. But otherwise, if you want to install it yourself, direct somebody to install it. It's super quick, right? So once we have this installed, what does it actually do, right? So we'll come over to Pubmed. I think this is the best example. Search for something like medical education. And now if you already have LibKey, you're probably used to this view, but if not, what actually happened was that LibKey in that instant scoured the whole page, right? It got all the articles, different metadata, and it shows where you have links, right? So here we can just download the PDF. So that was the best available link. Here we can go straight to the article link. So wherever the article is actually housed, obviously it's available in browsing. You can see here too. So it did that for everything, right? So this one, we don't have access, even though it's free, that's odd, but access options, if we don't have access to it, you can click that and it goes straight to the ILL form, right? So you can request away. So we'll just click on that one real quick and show that it's pretty much the same experience, right? So it downloaded the PDF right away. Let's see if we have another example there. maybe something for medical teacher. So this link takes us, looks like we have this through Medline Plus, but it'll take us to EBSCO. I apologize, it's taking a couple of extra minutes. But anyway, so this would load, I guarantee it, I promise. So it's just, again, it's giving you a quick access to all of this, right? So if we actually clicked into one of these and say you wanted to read the abstract first, anything like that, it's still available there. So this is where you'd probably see your outside tool if you wanted to have, or link out if you wanted to have LibKey IO, but there's always a place to click to download it, to view it, instantly, basically. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. And the most exciting part, and I probably said that a few times, but I just get excited with this. The most exciting part to me is that once you have LibKey installed, right, in your browser, doesn't matter if you're on campus, if you're in the network of the campus, if you're at home, if you're 5 states away, it doesn't matter where you're at. As long as you have LibKey installed on your browser and you have an internet connection, you get the same experience, right? Because again, like LibKey Link, Nomad is tied to your library holdings, has your authentication from your library, all that good stuff. So you'll get the same experience wherever you are, right? So, I mean, some people, some researchers may not want to go through the library website. Maybe you're in a rush and you forget, right? If you're using a proxy or something that usually needs that, and you just start searching Pubmed, you search some other publisher website, they're going to get the same experience. They're going to have the same access that you would if you go through all the right channels, which can sometimes be multiple steps. So it's just simplifying the research experience, right? So gaining access to an article should not be the hard part, especially if you already have access to it somewhere. Just to kind of drive this point home too, right? So I'm on Science Direct now. We'll just search for medical education again, click this, and boom, it pops up, right? So it's just very clear. Whenever there's article access, it'll tell you. If we didn't have access to this, it'll say access options, which we can show. So again, here I am on just a publisher website, Springer, and this will work on Wiley. It'll work on Taylor and Francis. We'll just go to an article real quick. So say I really want this article and I don't want to pay $40 for it right now, but I see, oh, my university has access options. I click that and it's an ILL form, right? So still providing some avenue to access, okay? Again, I've said it probably 3 times, but there's no dead ends when you're using LibKey, which is really, really neat. So LibKey will display, there's hundreds of sites now that they have, and they're adding more every single month. Some of the more popular ones, PubMed is obviously probably the most popular. Web of Science, it works in. Scopus, it works in. Taylor and Francis, again, and Wiley. It'll even work in Wikipedia, although I don't think probably many of us are searching Wikipedia, but it's just to show they really have a lot of variety in where they are, where this actually works, and they're adding more every single day. One thing too, this is going to be a new feature pretty soon. They partnered with Retraction Watch, and I think sometime soon this year, actually, this is going to go live. So if an article has been retracted, LibKey will let you know, right? So in the IO or in the LibKey Nomad, it'll show up red and it'll tell you, something's wrong with this article. Maybe there's a conflict, there's something wrong. So not only does LibKey help you save time, increase your efficiency, it's also kind of adding that safety layer too, right? So you're not wasting your time, you're not getting bad information too. So it's really becoming a complete package, a complete research tool. Let's go back here. And I think that's LibKey Nomad probably at its best state to how to use it. I think just from a personal view, especially during the pandemic and having just so much work and research be remote, LibKey's just been amazing, right? So we've received just incredibly positive feedback from pretty much everyone that's tried it. And I think it ties really seamlessly into kind of like a cloud access strategy. So answering those questions, how can we make it easier and quicker to just get to an article, right? So LibKey, to me, saves time. It increases efficiency, and it seriously reduces frustration by taking the guesswork out of access, right? From the researcher to a librarian to, I mean, to anybody, right? A student, doesn't matter. It's taking that guesswork out and that frustration when you get to a dead link and you've spent 5 minutes trying to get there. You know, one click, you know if you have it or you know if you don't, and you can request it. I think that's super important. So lastly, real quick, I mentioned free alternatives. So one of the drawbacks of LibKey and browsing, obviously, is that it is subscription-based. So that might be a barrier to some, and it, you know, so because it comes at a cost. But there are other products. So I know there's one called Lean Library. I've never used that. I think that's subscription-based. But the couple of free ones that are major, I think, is the Google Scholar button and EndNote Click, which was formerly Copernio. And I'm going to kind of show EndNote Click if it'll work for me real quick. This is probably the closest one to LibKey right now, but there are drawbacks, obviously, to these. So let's go back over here and we'll pin that, turn this on. Let's see if we can get it to work here. Sometimes, there we go. LibKey and, you know, EndNote are kind of fighting right now, basically, to be it. But it works in a similar way, right? So it's view PDF. If you're on campus, it'll automatically work. If you're off campus, there's a way to initiate your authentication. I haven't explored it that much, but I remember that there is a way to do that. And again, it just works the same way. So it's view PDF, they have it over here instead of over here, you know, very similar. It's also integrated with EndNote. So that might be kind of interest to anybody that uses EndNote. We don't use EndNote, so that wasn't really a driving point. I will tell you though, that after researching all of these, there was a reason that we went with Third Iron and LibKey. And basically, so Third Iron, we're the customer, right? And what I mean by that is with EndNote specifically, there's a reason it's free, all right? So the user actually becomes the product, right? So things like usage data and things similar to that, it gets sold to publishers. So that's how they support it, right? And this brought up kind of a lot of privacy concerns, especially if you're trying to roll it out university-wide. There would definitely be probably some concerns there. And again, we didn't use EndNote, so it didn't really play a factor there. But it might be great individually, right? Those concerns may not be as important to some. It just really was when we looked at it, basically. So, and then the Google Scholar button is another alternative. It's not as robust. LibKey is actively going out and trying to integrate itself. Trip database, I know they have a lot of other databases on the horizon this year. I think their 2021 roadmap is available on YouTube. But yeah, so anyway, I encourage everyone to look into LibKey further, to look into Google Scholar button, to look into EndNote Click, right? Just do a little research, you know, make sure you're comfortable with them, the pros and cons. But honestly, no matter what you do, the biggest takeaway here that I want everyone to take home is that this type of technology does exist and it is super useful, right? And I think it's just super cool. So if you have any questions, you know, feel free to email me anytime. You can pop them into the chat right now. I'll probably stick around for a little bit. I encourage you, please, to register for the next scholarly snippets. Let me put that up here. I think Katie will probably pop that in the chat pretty quick here. To register, getting more or less out of Pubmed. I think that sounds really, really interesting. I'll definitely be to that one. And then if you want to take the survey, we please encourage you to that. It really helps us kind of guide how to make these better. Other than that, I just thank you very much, everyone, for coming.
Are there any questions?
To put it right now, but it worked really easily on LibGuides, and I've seen a few different use cases. You know, if you have any place detailing articles, anything, you can slap it in there. Right now, we don't have it anywhere because, like I said, we're kind of redoing everything. But in my experience, like I said, it really was just plug and play, right? You just slap the code in and it appears and it works fantastically. So hopefully that answers that.
Kyle, there's another question in the chat.
Let me see. Okay, so the JavaScript, when I did it in LibGuides, I had access to that and it worked easily there. I haven't put it into something like WordPress or anything like that. I don't think it would be much of an issue. One thing about Third Iron is that they are super good and proactive about working with ITs. They have, because they understand the concerns, right, that come out. And they have a really extensive documentation library, but the representatives are incredibly responsive and they're willing to meet with IT departments, whatever it takes, just to make their, to calm them down, right, to make it easier for them. So I think if there was any issue, they would be able to resolve it really quickly. But in my experience, like I said, it's limited with LibGuides. That part wasn't that. It was very easy. Absolutely. Again, thank you everybody for coming, and I really hope everyone has a great day, a great week, and just research on.